Most people never get a chance to even experience how freaking amazing you are and to truly feel you as they would as your clients through a screen. And there are a few reasons for that. In this episode, I am unpacking why your online presence can sometimes fall flat, even though you do have good content, the difference between people experiencing you in person versus online, how it can sometimes feel really hard to get people to experience you fully through your brand only, and what it actually takes for high-level women to truly translate the full extent of themselves through their online presence in order to build authority, attraction, and actually get their clients to know they're the fucking one just by feeling them through their content. Welcome back to the podcast, and happy Tuesday. Now, it is me, your host, Malika, and let's go grab your matcha, go on your hot girl walk. Okay, I am dying to dive into this week's episode. Now, this is something that can come up quite a lot, and that is to truly get to translate how amazing you are, or truly get other people or your future client to truly see and experience you to your fullest, right? Because I feel like as human, right, of course the clients that you already have already know how amazing you are, or they can already experience you, or people that you've met can experience you, right? But how do we actually get that to translate into your personal brand, and why can that sometimes feel much harder than when you are just simply in person and people get to actually experience you? Okay, so we are going to get into so much juiciness, so much good stuff. I'm really excited. So let's go into it. Okay. First, let's dive into why exactly it is that so many people that are building their online presence rarely match their in-person energy, or just the actual mastery or what they actually have to offer once you are in their space. Most of the time this happens because people only get to experience a certain part of you in your online presence, and the actual energy that you bring to the table, the actual experience, the actual aura or embodiment. It's kind of like sometimes it can be really like missing from the content, right? Because sometimes people can see a piece of content and they think of it as like a flat piece, right? But your content is always multi-dimensional. Like, it's so much more than just the viral hook, or it's kind of like how also are people experiencing you through that content as they would if they were with you. And this is exactly why some personal brands feel really flat even when they have good content. Often are seen online, but they are not truly experienced online, right? What about you is getting lost in translation? Okay, because I've had this so many times. Okay, I feel like when I'm with my clients, like, they can see I'm so funny, or like I feel like when I'm with my clients, like they can really like see how much we have like good conversation, or how much like what I do or my work like really impacts them, or they really get to experience like what it feels like to be in my space, or they really or I feel like I'm so compassionate, but like I feel like it doesn't like really translate through my content to my brand, right? And that oftentimes always come from like fitting yourself in a box, right? Like feeling the need to fit yourself in a box and see this content piece as something flat rather than multidimensional, which is actually how you get to attract your higher caliber clients. And this is actually why I love going to events so much, so much. Okay, because it's not only that when I get to go and attend events in person, physically, you also get this sense of community. Number one thing is, obviously when you are in person, your energy gets to bounce off other people, right? It's kind of like you are talking with them and then they are talking back with you, and the energy kind of like bounce off, right? And so sometimes that can feel a lot easier to just get yourself to really show how you are, how you do things, or the way that you are. And essentially, like, it feels easier to just be you. And that is essentially the root of your personal brand. Okay. And that is oftentimes what is lacking. When you are in person, like, obviously it feels so much easier to, like, for example, for me, so much easier to make jokes or be funny when I'm in person, because I can like kind of like go off what people are saying or whatever, or like I just have this like funny sense of humor, or like, you know, or I can really have really good conversation with people. When you are in your apartment or in your room, or you are like in your own space and you're creating a piece of content and you're about to record, most people, they're not really thinking about the person on the other end who is going to receive it, who is actually a part of their community, and they're actually a part, like they're actually their client. You know what I mean? And it feels more like you are talking to yourself, or you are talking to your phone. When you are in person, when you think of like having a conversation with someone, right? Like your conversation always kind of like bounce back. You're kind of like bouncing back energy with this person, right? You can feel them. They're like a real person in front of you. And so you really get a sense of like how this person thinks, or like who they are, or like you get a sense of like this energy, and it like gives you back life. Like, you know what I mean? Like, it's kind of like, it feels so alive. And this is the thing, right? It feels alive. For most people, you know, the in-person version of them is much easier to say yes to them than it is to say yes to them online. But it doesn't actually have to stay that way, okay? Because yes, for example, your clients already know how amazing you are, right? When you think of like the clients that you've already had, or that you already are working with, like they get a sense of like what it is like to be in your space, or what your personality is like. And they get to experience like, oh my God, like I'm so happy I found you. And like, you know, like whatever it is, right? The issue is not, okay, like you're not already super amazing and everything, and your clients don't love you, like they already do, right? And that is great to have, but it's more, the gap is more like, okay, like how are we taking that and putting it into your content? Because like your online space and your online presence is not really a separate entity from reality, right? It's literally just a direct expansion of your presence that you are in real life. And the way that you're able to like hold space, or move, or communicate, or present yourself in a room, you know, it can create like an instant like trust, connection, a sense of authority, right? And the good news is that if you are able to have that in person, right, that is a sign, okay, you already have this, okay? But now it's like, how can we connect the reality of real life, of you in real life, but to your online presence? I think that like a lot of people separate, you know, the real life you from the online presence you. Not in the sense of like you're a completely different person, but in the sense of like, oh, online I have to be more curated, I have to be more this, I have to be more that. And then you end up just, you know, projecting someone else's idea of what your page should look like. And then it just doesn't sound like you, or it sounds way too curated, and it becomes boring. And so, you know, when you are living through life, when you are moving through as your fucking self, like you're not always thinking, okay, like, if I say this, like, is it gonna offend all of these people? Like, you're just in a conversation. Like, you're not being like, maybe I should add this adjective, or maybe this word that I will say will resonate with her. And so that is the word that I need to like, you know what I mean? Like, you're like, no one is fucking doing that. No one is fucking doing that. And that is exactly how people experience your brand. Is the same as it's supposed to be the same as they experience you in person, but just in a way that's even fucking better, because you have the magic wand in your hand, and you get to make it whatever the fuck you want it to be. This is why like you see so many people like plateauing, you know, with their online presence or with their brand. The online presence, you know, doesn't always communicate the depth of like your in-person authority or personality or way of being, right? It feels like just this perfect little wrap present that like has nothing interesting to it. But when you are in person, right, it's like it feels so much more multi-dimensional. It feels so much easier to bounce off someone's energy, and then you're getting this energy back, and then you know exactly how to respond, and you're not thinking 30 minutes how to respond in a conversation, right? Honestly, the biggest reason why so many high achieving women feel like their online presence feel flat compared to, you know, how you actually are in person is simply because they don't actually know what it is about themselves that makes it so magnetic in person. Okay, or just how to use these traits and amplify them within your online presence. Okay, and this is usually the disconnect, right? And the truth is, I think that a lot of people just focus so much on like how they look or like the perfect aesthetic or like how their page is going to be perceived, and not enough how people actually experience their personal brand, right? And this is why I love the analogy of like, you know, just like bringing to life how you are when you are in a room full of people rather than how you are when you are online, right? Because it's so easy, yes, to focus on the perfect aesthetic or like how your brand look visually, right? That's all nice, that's all like nice bonus, but the shit that really matters at the end of the day is not really that. The way I like to think of this is kind of like, you know, when you are walking into a room full of people that you don't know, this is exactly how it is to put yourself out there online and be creating every single piece of content that is building on your brand. And I honestly think that being in person in a room, you know, gives you a lot of feedback on what exactly you can use for your personal brand. Every single time that I walk into a room that I have conversation with other women in person, like it gives me so much feedback because of the fact that like I can truly feel this person so much differently than I can through a screen. And it feels so different. It feels so much more alive, if that makes sense. And it always gives me so much feedback on what exactly I can use or what I can amplify about me and myself and everything. And I think there's another aspect to that, which is just that a lot of people feel a lot more comfortable, I think, like, you know, when you are in person. Like it feels just, you know, you're not recording yourself. It's not something that's going to last forever per se. It's like kind of like you're having this conversation or you just get to be. I feel like that's the thing. They just get to exist, they get to exude, they get to just be, not like out here curating every single aspect. It's also about being okay to be like fully seen without holding anything back. You know, without holding anything back because you're scared you're going to be canceled, without holding anything back because you're scared of putting boundaries and and you know, being canceled by your clients. It's, you know, just being fully in your own depth of who you are and fully putting it out there. Something that I always have done every single time that I enter a room is think of the four corners of the room, of that room, and I imagine these four corners, grabbing them and putting them in my pocket, as if the whole room, I can grab it and put it in my pocket. And it allows me to enter every single new room or new space in such a different headspace where I feel so comfortable and so like excited for it. And even though I'm going to talk to new people I've never talked about and everything, like I feel like no nerve. And I feel like that is kind of like a really similar mindset to building your online presence, to going about how you're doing shit online, right? It's so similar, right? It's about like putting yourself out there as much as you actually wish to. You know what I mean? Like when you think of like walking into a room and you picture, you know, taking every single corner of that room, grabbing it, putting them in your pocket and being like, I'm so comfortable walking into this, speaking to people I've never talked about, and knowing that like every single thing that you are expressing, the way you're presenting yourself, the way you're speaking, the conversation you're having, you're just simply filtering out all the people that are just not really meant to be around you. And that is the same when it comes to your personal brand, right? But how can that be if like we're always like, oh my God, like, am I gonna get canceled? Oh my God, I'm scared of saying this. Oh my God, like, is this okay to say, or is this gonna offend someone? And this is actually what is unknowingly sabotaging their online energy and their online presence, which most of the time it comes down to like really simple shit. Like, for example, like a lot of like over curating your stuff. Like you feel like you need to either like really censor yourself, or oh, maybe like if I say something like this is going to be taken the wrong way, or maybe I'm scared I'm gonna get canceled. I've had actually people come to me and be like, I'm scared to put a boundary with a client because I'm scared that they're going to go online and cancel me. Is this your truth? Then just say it. You know what I mean? And it's like this phenomenon of like needing to over explain or over curate yourself or over censor yourself. And then it just becomes this trying to be perfect that like removes all of the spark and becomes so dull and so one-dimensional. And then we're losing the magic. We're losing the spark. We're losing the thing that like is supposed to make your brand stand out. This is happening more and more because of like the cancel phenomenon, which is like, I feel like every single artist that is about to rise, every single time they're making it, they're really big. If I think of anyone like Chappell Roan, Sabrina Carpenter, Taylor Swift, like anyone that has like risen up and has been like on track to like really be super successful, a lot of people know about them and everything, there's always this like cancel culture. They have like really, really top presence. So honestly, like I just think we need to stop, it's like performing and more present, more embodiment, more speaking your truth, less posting for the algorithm, because this just becomes a conversation about, becoming real and not becoming this curated thing online, right? Because if you truly think of like your high caliber clients, like they're not out here because they are wanting to have like 3 tips about whatever. Like they don't give a fuck about that, okay? What they want is to see, feel, experience you. It comes from, getting to fully experience this person. Like, a client of yours have already experienced you and then they're referring you to someone else. And so all of these things that everyone gets to experience of you in person, like, are you filtering them all out? Do you know what your strengths are and are you using them to your advantage? Or are you filtering them all out and curing them all out? Right? Because then of course your personal brand is going to feel flat. Of course your brand is going to feel flat, and that is not the goal of your personal brand, It's so deeply coded in you. And this is one of the formulas that I'm actually curating as we speak and making come to life within some of my newest training that I'm working on. But it's to have a you coded presence, and this is something that like a lot of people lack in their personal brand, which is why it feels so flat, or it feels hard to be like, oh my God, like why do I feel like I'm so multidimensional, I'm so all of these things, but like when it comes to my online presence, it feels like I can't be all of those things or whatever. And then you're just putting yourself in a box and it feels suffocating. It's like, let's get out of the box, like when you think of yourself, like when you're having conversation with your clients, when you are in a room full of new people, like I want you to think of that. Like think of that. What does that feel like? Are you bringing that energy into your content? Does it feel multi-dimension, or does it feel like just one dimension, just content hook? No. No. I gave you a lot to think about and a lot to twirl on in your brain for the next few days, hopefully. Now, if you love this episode, definitely share it to someone, share it to a friend that you know absolutely would love it. And I'll meet you here next week as always. Stay amazing. Thanks so much for tuning in, and don't forget to leave your 5-star rate and review on the podcast. I love to know what you guys think of the episodes, and I will meet you here next week.